Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius. Today we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a video game about bees collecting pollen, a book about kids that can do magic with their friends, and we have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the amazing Emily Hanna.
Thank you, Tiberius. I appreciate being here today.
You're welcome. And Emily is the executive director of Bike Walk Central Florida. They teach people how to be safe when walking or riding your bike.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate being here.
Well, you're welcome. And today we're going to start off with the video game of the week, and this is going to be a swarm of bees.
And now it's time for the video game of the week.
Today's video game is Honey Simulator. Now, this is on a different platform called Core, and you can get it for free on the Epic Games website. There are hundreds of free games on the system. So, I get into the game and select play. You have a bee, and you want to collect pollen and do some quests. Wait a second! This sounds like a game that I did years ago, and it was called Bee Swarm Simulator. Well, this game is just like Bee Swarm, except it's not as big of a map. You still get pollen by harvesting it at your hive and get quests from teddy bears, but I did not see any boss fights or bugs that go after you. You're able to get yourself a pet that finds cookies in the gardens. Also, you can go ahead and buy and upgrade different harvesting tools. Oh, and you can get a new backpack as well at the shop, which can hold more pollen. Oh, and you can have fun playing this with your friends. Yep, I made my dad play for a bit. Or weeks.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Oh, it is.
That sounds like fun.
Well, I give Honey Simulator 8 out of 10 stars because it's really a lot of fun to relive the experience of Bee Swarm Simulator and start all over again. Even though the graphics are better in this game, the gameplay options are better than in the original.
Interesting. I'll have to check it out. Thanks, Tiberius, for telling me about it.
The Tiberius Show would like to thank Buggy Creek Airboat Adventures for being one of our sponsors. I got to go on an airboat and saw a real gator. I even got to go to the gem mine and mine for some gems. We ate a steak dinner at the restaurant and even got some gator bites. If you want to have a blast with the entire family, I suggest you go to www.bcairboats.com right now. Get your tickets today. The website again is bcairboats.com.
Now it's time for the book of the week, The Magic Mistress, the second story. This book is written by Neil Patrick Harris. Let me read to the back of the book. In fact, Emily, would you like to do the honors?
Absolutely, Tiberius. I would be happy to. So, growing up in an orphanage, Lila was bullied for being different, but she turned her hardship into skill by becoming an escape artist. A valuable trait when belonging to a group of magical best friends. When a famous psychic comes to town, however, Lila and her pals won't be able to escape the big mystery heading their way. Whether chasing mad monkeys or banishing ghosts from haunted hotels, these 6 friends will do their best to keep mineral wells safe, but can they still protect themselves in the process? Ooh, interesting. Join the Magic Misfits as they discover adventure, friendship, and more than a few hidden secrets in this delightful series.
Nice.
Sounds interesting. I might have to read this.
Yeah. Well, this is an AR book and is worth 6 full points. It's rated for 4th grade and 8th month. This is a great book for kids that love magic and getting into trouble, like me. So Leela is a girl that is adopted by Mr. Vernon. He is very good at finding and teaching magic. She is going to do a live show with one of Mr. Vernon's friends, Sandra. They used to be in the same school. This is going to be cool. Sandra is a psychic, but can we trust her? Okay, so the show goes well until in one of the acts we find Leela's real biological parents in the audience. So they have to go to court between Mr. Vernon and the new parents. So Mr. Vernon is not happy about this. Then, after the court situation, they were trapped underground and were trying to get back to Mr. Vernon's magic shop. And then a big fight broke out between the people and the... Oh, should I tell you more? Well, I can't really tell you everything because it's just like a brief summary. But it was a good book. I give The Magic Misfits the second story 10 out of 10 stars because it was really cool that they formed a team with Mr. Vernon and beat up the bad guys.
Mid-State Fire has been providing top-quality fire equipment services for 3 generations to the Central Florida area. Don't wait for an emergency to repair. Call Mid-State Fire today at 407-246-8855. Get your fire extinguishers and emergency lighting for both your home and businesses by visiting www.midstatefire.com. That number again is 407-246-8855.
It's now time for an interview of an interesting person. Today's guest is going to be so much fun. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Emily Hanna. Emily is the executive director of Bike Walk Central Florida. This is a great nonprofit that helps people be safe walking or riding your bike down the street.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tiberius, for having me join your show and talk to your audience about bike and pedestrian safety.
Well, you're welcome. So first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
So far, I'm enjoying it. You bring a lot of energy and excitement to talk about stuff that we don't necessarily get a chance to communicate to kids very often. So I'm looking forward to talk to you about what it is that I do in this role.
Okay. So I have interviewed a few executive directors from nonprofits before. What exactly does a Bike Walk Central Florida do?
So Bike Walk Central Florida tries to promote and use our network and the people that we work with to promote and increase the number of trails and sidewalks and safe places for people to ride their bike and to walk in their neighborhoods and their communities.
Okay, so they help people be safer when riding their bike or walking down the street?
Absolutely. We try to educate both the parents and children on the importance of looking both ways before you cross a street, right? Look left, right, and left again before you cross. But also some other tips and tricks for being safe while cycling, while being on your bike. Because being on your bicycle is a little different than being on your 2 feet. And so there's different things we've got to try
balance.
Exactly, balance and your speed. Right? You go a little faster when you're on your bicycle versus when you're walking on your 2 feet.
I don't know about that.
Well,
mostly run.
Most kids go faster on their bikes.
Yes, because they have more energy. Well, what was the coolest thing that you learned while doing this job?
So the coolest thing that I've learned about while doing this job is being able to affect change in the neighborhoods and the communities that we live in. So I get to work with people like you, but I also get to work with our elected officials, those people that make decisions about where we put the money to build our roads and how those roads look like. So I get to work with all the people that are involved with that. I also get to work with our law enforcement, our police departments, because they have a big job in making sure that our streets are safe as well. So I get to work with them and support their efforts to make sure that people drive they're slow and they pay attention to people that might want to cross the road.
Okay. Well, what is the best part about working at a nonprofit?
The best part about working at a nonprofit is being able to advocate for or promote and try to push the change that you want to see in your community. Mm-hmm. Being able to have a voice and having your voice heard by the different outlets like you or going to community meetings and talking to residents about what it is that we're trying to promote in the community.
Okay. So my dad said you do sting operations with the police. And one time it was right outside my studio. Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. We first, we don't call them sting operations.
Okay.
That makes it sound like we're trying to trap people. But what we're doing with our law enforcement partners is trying to educate drivers that when a person puts their foot in a crosswalk to try to cross the road, it's the Florida law that they have to yield to that person, stop and let them cross safely. And we find here in Central Florida that we have a lot of drivers that, number one, don't know that law, and number
And
two,
don't care.
well, are not paying attention, right?
yeah.
They could have distractions by their cell phone, they're texting and driving.
That's why we say don't text while you're driving.
Exactly, don't text and drive. It also could be speeding. You sometimes might notice
yeah.
that your parents might drive a little fast. Well, remind them that they need to slow down. There's people that have to cross the road. So we do these enforcement operations 4 times a year where we go around the 3 counties, so Seminole County, Orange County, and Osceola County,
Nice.
to try to educate people that you've got to yield to pedestrians. You've got to stop your vehicle for pedestrians when they try to cross the road.
Okay, well, how much is the ticket that for the cars that go past?
It's $164 and 3 points on your license. Yeah.
I can only afford like 14 of those.
Right? That's not. But here's the most important thing. It's not about the ticket. What if you don't see a pedestrian and you hit them
you
with your
run 'em
car?
Then that's life sentence.
Right? That you're taking someone's life. So it's not just the ticket that we try to tell people why you need to slow down and look for pedestrians. It's to save people's lives, right? Kids included.
Kids included very much.
Absolutely.
That's why when parents have kids, they instead put, like if they were moving this way and there was a crosswalk, they would put the child on this side.
Absolutely.
If it's coming from the left, they put them on the right side.
They
if
shield
they put them
them.
on the right, they put them on the left side.
Absolutely.
So it's opposite
Mm-hmm.
of each other.
They're trying to protect their children.
Yep. Instead of putting them in danger.
Exactly.
Because they can't see them.
Mm-hmm.
So how does the crosswalk operations help keep people safe?
So they help keep people safe by educating them. They realize that when they get pulled over by a cop or a law enforcement officer, they're a little nervous, right? What did I do wrong? And so at that point, we give them some education material, tell them about the Florida statute, which is the rule that says that you have to yield to pedestrians and stop for them in a marked crosswalk. And when we try to just tell them about why we're out there doing that, we also partner with the media, so organizations like you, also our Channel 9, News 13, those types of places, so that we can spread the message even further than just the people that get pulled over.
Well, did you ever have an operation that did not go well?
Knock on wood, so far all of our operations have been very successful. We have educated a lot of people. No one has been injured because we follow very strict and safe protocols to make sure that anybody that does cross the road in these operations do so safely and have the ability to get out of the vehicle's way if there was to be some type
Like
of
a car.
conflict, right? Exactly.
If you have a child, then you would say, run super fast like the wind.
Absolutely.
What was your favorite project with the Bike Walk Central Florida?
So my favorite project is probably one that I'd like to tell you about, and it's called Bike 5 Cities. It is our bicycle advocacy ride, so we hold a one-day event where we encourage people to come out and use the trails on their bike so they can see how they can connect to different cities. So that you can take your bike to a restaurant or to a park instead of driving your car. And how we have trails
Instead running there.
or running, but we have trails and we have safe streets that do allow for people to do that. We just have to show people.
You might have to teach me how to ride my bike again.
I will teach you how to ride your bike again. Absolutely.
Especially on concrete.
Not a problem.
Well, what is the one thing that you want my listeners to know about the bike and pedestrian safety?
The one thing that I think I'd want your audience to take away is the importance of slowing down and paying attention when you're a driver. And for kids that are on bikes or on their feet, to make sure you always look both ways before you cross the road.
Because you might get hit.
Hopefully not. Hopefully
yeah.
you don't. Hopefully a vehicle sees you and stops. But unfortunately, that's not what
That's
happens.
not
in
the case.
Not here
sometimes.
Not here in Central Florida. No.
Yeah.
So that's what we do, is to try to make sure that they do that.
Reason being, we're not in a good place because some people don't care.
Right.
Or don't pay attention because they're still trying to, text someone or something. So yeah. Now, I read your bio and see that you worked as a development service manager and did building planning. What does that mean?
So the development services manager role that I used to have at the city of Castleberry helped them decide where they were going to build things in their community. And then my job was to work with the builders to build it, make sure that it was completed and safe for the building itself. So that's what I did.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun, too. I enjoyed it.
Do you do, cars to, stop when they're, trying to, stop at, a stoplight? Because at my school today, we actually saw a car crash.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. I'm assuming that was because people weren't paying attention, right?
Yeah.
And I'm glad you used the word crash, because a lot of people call those
Because-
accidents, but they're not
Yeah.
accidents. They're
They're
crashes.
definitely not accidents.
No, absolutely
I mean,
not.
some of them are, but they're, crashes.
Accidents can be avoided.
Yes. Well, why do you need to plan cities if they're already built?
That is a great question, Tiberius. We are constantly changing the way that our buildings look. New buildings
True.
get added. We've got much more growth. More people are moving to Central Florida than ever before. So we have to plan for where those people are going to go. And if we do it well, then we've also got to look at other services, like where are the schools going to locate? We have to have more park space because we've got more people.
So, what is the hardest part about working with a nonprofit?
The hardest part about working with a nonprofit is really, I would say it's the funding. We are always having to fundraise to support the work that we're trying to do, and that takes time. That takes a lot of my time to try to find funding so that we can continue working, find money so we can continue educating people. And so that's often what I do, is try to find those that are interested and want to help me continue the message that we're trying to do, and that's making sure that people are safe crossing the road. And so that's probably one of the hardest things to do in a nonprofit, is to find money, especially now in with COVID and kind of the unfortunate situation that we're in right now. A lot of people are having a hard time, right, having money in the first place. So that's probably the hardest thing.
So, if you could think of one thing that would make your job easier, what would it be?
Probably
self-driving cars?
No, self-driving cars aren't going to solve our problems. But what I would think would make my job a lot easier, if people knew the law. If people knew that they had to stop and yield, I might not have a job, and that's okay.
And some people might not think that's actually a real law because someone random is telling them.
Well,
they say.
Not so much that, but that they don't know. There's a lot of rules and laws when you are a driver, right? Mm-hmm. You've got to know what the signals mean. You've got to know what the striping on the ground means. You have to be able to watch around you. Driving a vehicle is a privilege that I think a lot of people today take a little bit of advantage of.
Now, your bio says that you are also a champion equestrian. So can you tell me more about that?
Yes, absolutely. So I show horses. I do. I jump them over jumps.
Ooh, nice.
And I compete all over the state of Florida. Not the world. That's expensive. But I have gone to New York, North Carolina, Kentucky, and I've brought my horse with me. So I've got lots of.
Did you ride on your horse there?
I did not ride the horse there. No, that would have been a long time to get there.
Yeah. Well, what is the one award or achievement that you are most proud of?
Well, I think the most proud of an award that I've received is the Orlando Business Journal's 40 Under 40 award. which Orlando Business Journal gives out that award to individuals that are under 40 years old that are making a big commitment and impact in their community. And I worked at the city of Castleberry, and they gave me that award for the work that I did bringing in projects and building the city and doing it sustainably, making sure that it's green and we can keep building and keep growing. So that's probably a really proud award that I'd like to share.
Well, what is the craziest situation that you have run into while doing your work?
The craziest situation, I've had a couple, so I'll pick one. We had, oftentimes when we're doing our enforcement operations with our law enforcement partners, there are people that get pulled over that are not happy that they got a ticket.
Oh.
And I often get yelled at.
About that,
I don't
want to do that.
I get yelled at often, and I've actually had someone argue with me about that this is not how they do it in Texas. And we had a 30-minute conversation about how Texas does it. And I was like, well, sir, we're not in Texas. We're in Florida.
Texas. We're in Florida. In Florida, we have these very strict laws. What was the first job that you ever had?
The first job I ever had was working at a horse farm, helping feed the horses and turn them out and put blankets on them and just take care of them. That was my first job. It was a fun job.
Okay. So, was there anything you learned from that job that helped you be a better executive director?
Hard work ethic, making sure that the job gets done because horses can't feed themselves.
That is true.
Right? They rely on you.
Unless you just give them some stuff.
Well, you've got to feed them, right? So that's a part of and I take that into this role as executive director. I make sure that I do the work, right?
Like you should have a sensor, like when they're trying to eat, like getting close to it, they shut it off because it's not time to eat yet. Then when it's time to eat, you just let them.
Absolutely.
So who helped motivate or inspire you the most in following your dreams?
Probably my mother, because she wanted me to be a strong individual that fought for people and that always continued to be the voice for those that couldn't have a voice. And I believe that she did a good job, because now I get to be the voice for those people that walk or ride their bike that don't necessarily have the voice where it needs to be.
Well, what advice would you give my listeners if they wanted to grow up and manage a nonprofit?
I would say that my advice would be to follow your passion, because there's always going to be a nonprofit that supports your passion.
Oh, yeah. Well, if you could go back 10 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
Have patience. I think I was wanting to change the world at an early age, and I wasn't patient enough to learn
that's me.
Right? To learn all the tricks and tools and skills that I would need in my toolbox in order to affect change. And so looking back, that's what I would tell myself 10 years ago.
Okay.
It'll happen.
Well, what was the biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
It's a good question. So one of the biggest mistakes that I've probably made was not understanding my weaknesses as a person and not training myself and getting the skills that I need to overcome those weaknesses. And so I've done that now, but 10 years ago, I probably would have been able to make some changes in where I would go in my future if I had focused on myself and the career development that I needed at that time.
Well, do you play video games? And if you do, what is your favorite one?
So I do play a couple video games. I know. But I play them, I do play them on my phone. I don't actually have a console that I play on, unfortunately. But I do have a couple. One of which is my favorite is Frogger. And I think Frogger is...
You're going to have to show me.
Frogger? So Frogger is a game where you have to get the frog across the other side of the road, and there's lots of cars moving. And so you've got to be able to
see
dodge
why you
the
like
cars.
that game.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so what is your favorite book to read?
I really liked the Harry Potter books. Those were my favorite.
I've read them.
Yeah, they're
really
pretty
good.
Absolutely.
Okay. Can you tell me that one story? remember, this is a kid's show, but that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Okay. Trying to think of a story to tell you. So I can tell you, this isn't embarrassing, but this is probably a success story. Okay. So when I first got my job as the executive director of Bike Walk, COVID happened and the whole world shut down. Right? Yeah. So how am I supposed to start a job when everything shuts down?
That's a good question.
So I was working with some roadway engineers. So these are people that design our roadways. And they were looking at a specific intersection, so where two roads cross each other. And there was a dangerous crosswalk where several people were struck and killed.
Oh, yes.
And they were looking at doing changes to this intersection, and they wanted my feedback, my opinion. And so I
make it shorter.
Make it shorter. So I reviewed the plans for them, and I told them, I think you need to do this. And I told them what they needed to do. And they said, Emily, we can't do that. And I didn't take no for an answer, Tiberius. I went all the way up through... I don't. I went all the way up through all the different divisions and talked to all the people I needed to, and now they're going to make the change at that intersection that I wanted. And
Where was it?
It was at Cimarron 436 and Curry Ford. There is going to be a raised crosswalk now, and what we do is we elevate the crosswalk so that people can be seen.
Tunnel.
No, it's like a little bridge. Right? So it's raised, so the person that's on that raised portion are higher than where they would be on just the crosswalk or the asphalt, right? Where the drivers are. So it puts them in a better perspective for drivers to see them.
Well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
Not so much about me, but I'd like your listeners to know about our event on October 30th called Bike 5 Cities, where we are showing riders that want to ride their bike where they can do so comfortably on trails. And so it's a 5-mile ride for families to come out and enjoy the Katy Way Trail in the city of Orlando. So I encourage you to come out and join.
I'm guessing that we're going to have to go slowly.
Absolutely.
Unless there's kids that really like biking so much that they go super fast.
We will see. Everybody's going to go together.
Yeah. Well, do you have a Facebook for my listeners that want to follow you?
I do. So we have a couple different Facebook pages, one of which is for Bike Walk Central Florida. So just look up Bike Walk Central Florida on Facebook or at Bike Walk CFL on Twitter, or you could use the hashtag #BikeWalkCFL. We also have a social media page for our Best Foot Forward pedestrian safety program, and that is Best Foot Forward on Facebook or at Best Foot Forward CFL on Twitter. Also use the hashtag IY4PEDS. That is the hashtag that we use that tells people that you do yield for pedestrians.
Okay. Well, what is the one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
Maybe the question that why is making sure our streets are safe important for somebody to do for a job?
Well, why?
Well, it's important because we are essentially killing our neighbors and kids, your friends, my friends that try to cross the road. So we've got to do a better job about making sure that that we know that they're there as a driver, and then making sure that as a pedestrian, somebody that's walking or somebody that's using the bicycle, that they're crossing at marked intersections where it's safe for them to cross, and always try to look both ways and make eye contact with the driver before you cross the road.
Okay. Well, thank you, Emily, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
Absolutely. I'm not good at math, but I'll try.
Okay.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners!
Emily for helping me with Math Corners. Today, we're going to talk about dividing fractions. I have been doing my IXL.com math exercises, and we got into a number of problems that have to do with dividing fractions. So most people know that how to multiply a fraction, but what if I told you there was a special trick so that you can divide fractions easily? Let's say we have 3 over 5 divided by 1 over 2. Now, what I have to do is I take the top of the first number and times it by the bottom of the second. So 3 times 2 is 6. So the top of my answer will be 6. Now I take the bottom of the first number and times it by the top of the second. So 5 times 1 is 5. So the bottom number is 5, making the answer 6 over 5, or 1 1/5. So some will say that you can just take the second number and flip it and then just multiply, and that works as well. But it is easier to do my trick since it does not require paper or altering the page with numbers or the answer on it. You can just circle or cross out the numbers that you have multiplied and put down the answer. Well, this makes dividing fractions so much easier to deal with. So Emily, do you now know all about how to divide fractions?
I do. I know a little bit about dividing fractions. But thank you for your trick. Now I know an easier way of doing it.
Well, you're welcome. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for your help with Math Corners.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bumps. Give me bumps.
Bumps. Perfect.
Bumps.
Aw, Dad, my computer's slow again and I can't play my games.
Call Your Computer Solutions today, and we will scan for viruses and clean that computer up remotely and make it fast again. Our phone number is 407-826-0810.
Thanks, Dad. My computer's fast again. Now I can do my homework. Thanks for calling Your Computer Solutions at 407-826-0810.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the heart of a lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. This week, we're going to talk about obedience. For me, I think obedience is being fully committed to doing what is pleasing to God. The qualities of obedience are compliance with a good attitude and respect for the laws. You know when someone is obedient when they follow instructions willingly and thoroughly. I have a real problem with going to bed. I try everything to stay up. First, I sneak in my mom's bedroom and try to watch TV. After my mom gets upset, I will go to my bed and either hide a book in the bed or have Alexa play music that I want to sing to. Then I will grab some toys and play with them while in bed, but I won't go to sleep. Well, I'm supposed to try to go to sleep and to do so on time. I don't like making my mom upset, but I also don't like going to sleep. So this is a real problem. Now my dad is giving me timeouts away from my computer that matches the time I'm not in my bed. But the good news is that I'm doing a lot more reading. So Emily, did you see or use obedience at all this week?
Absolutely, Tiberius. I try to use those virtues that you described as the heart of the lion, including obedience, on a daily basis with what we do at Bike Walk Central Florida, and then also with being obedient and patient with my horses at home.
Mm-hmm. Well, of all of the heart of the lion virtues, which is your favorite?
Obedience probably is a good virtue that I think might be my favorite. I think being willing participant and understanding the importance of following the rules is one of the things that I think is most important in what we do today.
Well, we should always try and be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Absolutely.
And that's our show, folks. I want to thank everyone and the amazing Emily Hanna for being on my show. It has been so much fun talking with you today, and I hope in the future to see one of your crosswalk events in person, maybe even walk the crosswalk with you sometime.
Absolutely, Tiberius. I would love to have you join us for one of our enforcement operations and hope to see you out for Bike 5 Cities October 30th.
And also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at The Tiberius Show, and please be sure to visit The Tiberius Show on YouTube and subscribe. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on The Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy!
The Tiberius Show would like to thank one of their dedicated sponsors, Custom Designs Orlando. These guys are on Mills Avenue and do all sorts of stuff, ranging from photo ID badges, engraved signs, custom braille ADA signs, vinyl lettering to trophies and awards. The cool part about Custom Designs is they can ship products all over the United States. You can reach them at 407-898-0373 and tell them that
Tiberius
sent you.